Hello, in this video I am going to show how I modified my Thule Hullavator to fit my 2019 Hobie Outback. Even with the Hullavator cradle arms at their maximum width, the Hobie Outback is still a few inches too wide. Also, the Outback is about 10 to 20 pounds heavier than the maximum rated weight for the Hullavator. Here you can see that the Outback is a little bit too wide to lie flat inside the Hullavator cradle arms. In this video, when I talk about the top arm, I am referring to the shorter cradle arm that will be closer to the roof when the Hullavator is alongside the car. The bottom arms are the longer curved cradle arms that also have the handle. So especially when loading the Outback on the Hullavator, it is very important to know the kayak's center of gravity or the balance point. So before we get started, you should know that this will involve cutting into the Hullavator and will most likely void any kind of warranty. And while I was successful at doing this modification and loading my kayak, I haven't actually tested it on any trip of any significant length. So I can't really speak to absolutely how safe it is to do this. So the first thing that needs to be done is to bring the adjustment knobs from the outside of the short cradle arms to the inside. Once the cradle arms span width is widened, the adjustment knob will be off the track and won't be able to be tightened. Therefore, it needs to be moved on the inside so that the adjustment knob is still on the track. This thin plastic trim is all that is stopping the upper cradle arm from moving beyond this stop point. Only this top section of plastic trim needs to be cut off, not this side plastic. I wanted to make most of this adjustment on the upper cradle arm trim to move the kayak more over the roof of my car. But as you'll see, I ended up needing to take some of the plastic off from the upper cradle arm side as well to make it fit. I pretty much eyeballed these cuts and kept checking the width and cutting off more until it fit. I'm rushing a bit to get this done before I run out of daylight. If you take your time, I'm sure you can do more precise Dremel cuts than what I'm showing here. Here you see side by side one side that's been cut and the other one that has not been modified yet. In total, about 2 inches needs to be removed from the top arm cradle plastic trim. And about 1 inch of the plastic trim needs to be removed from the lower arm side near the release handles. Here we see that by removing about 3 inches total of plastic trim, the Hullavator cradle arms will fit the Outback perfectly. Doing this modification to the Hullavator is pretty easy, and I do not think it really impacts the strength of the Hullavator cradle arms to hold the kayak securely to your roof. However, actually loading your kayak onto your roof, especially a higher vehicle like my SUV, even with the Hullavator, is still difficult. I quickly tried to load my Outback onto my SUV by myself using my modified Hullavator to try and include it in this video, but unfortunately I failed miserably several times. I think the Hullavator can be used to load the Outback onto a car by yourself. To do this by yourself, you need to take time to get the kayak positioned as close to perfectly over the center of gravity as possible. Once the kayak is up on the cradle alongside the car, it is easy to tell if it is centered correctly based on the movement of the cradle arms. However, at this point, don't try to slide the kayak along the lower cradle arm, as this puts an excessive amount of side-to-side torque and twisting on the hinge up by the roof crossbars. If the kayak is not centered perfectly, ideally you need to lift the kayak off of the lower cradle arms to reposition it. Once it's perfectly centered, the straps need to be securely tied down. Ideally, you will have pre-placed these straps before you put the kayak up on the cradle arms.
Trial 2.
So it can be done by yourself. I think you just have to take your time and not rush like I'm doing here, and think out the process. I hope this video helped with describing some of the details on what modifications and parts of the Hullavator need to be cut to make it fit. If you have any tips or suggestions on how best to load the Outback onto the Hullavator and get it up on top of your car, please leave them in the comments. And thanks for watching. Be safe on the water out there. Okay, bye.